have a very special guest. His name is Tanner Sparks. He got his bachelor's degree and master's degree at University of Georgia in entomology. At the moment, he is working on his PhD at Louisiana State University in the Entomology Department under the guidance of Dr. Rodrigo Diaz. Welcome, Tanner.
Hi, thanks, Evelyn.
Okay, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay.
It's as right as anybody ever gets it. So.
Okay, yeah. I have a very difficult time when the English names starts with an S. Yeah, because in Spanish you always add an E, like Sparks.
Yeah.
I will say Sparks.
Okay, I did pick up on that. It's Sparks.
How do you say it?
Sparks.
Okay, good.
You just go straight to the S. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I think it's
like
something.
snake.
Snake.
Spark.
Sparks. Okay, thank you for that. So before we get into the research, what you're doing at the moment, can you tell us about where you're from?
Yeah, so I'm from central Georgia, basically like right smack dab in the middle of the state. Basically lived my whole life in that area, and then when I graduated high school, I went up to Athens at the University of Georgia, got my undergrad in entomology, my bachelor's in entomology, and then afterwards got my master's in entomology. And I took about a 1 year gap between getting my bachelor's and starting my master's degree.
So you always knew that you wanted to be an entomologist?
Yeah, actually. My mom's got like drawings from when I was like a little kid that said, it's just like me with like a bug net, and it's like, I want to be a bug scientist.
Wow, that's amazing. So what was something that you were working on your master's degree?
So I did my master's degree on whiteflies and insecticide resistance with them. So the big thing kind of when I came into it was like, we're gonna do this like statewide survey of like the different whitefly like insecticide resistances, so different insecticides that are often used for managing whiteflies in the state, and that didn't quite work out exactly. There was a setback, so I was trying to get a lot of my like bioassays to work, and they just didn't want to work. And so then I went off and started trying to learn like what are the different like bioassays that people are actually doing for testing with whiteflies. And so I ended up doing this study where I did like a bunch of everybody's different methods and was like, okay, like, are there actual differences between these methods? Like, do you see that like there's a higher mortality doing one specific methodology with like this set of insecticides versus like if we did it like what this other guy's doing, and then we also did like our own that we came up with, and was just like, okay, you know, how are these comparing? Like, you know, do you see a difference in effectiveness just because you're testing it in a different way?
How long did it take you to complete your master's?
It took me almost 3 years. Part of that was because of COVID though. Yeah. So I was supposed to originally try to graduate in like spring of 2020. And then COVID happened and my university shut down, I want to say from March to June. And so for that time we were like not allowed to go into our labs. I ended up just staying home and doing nothing for those 3 months. I don't regret it, but
you don't?
it's like summer vacation. You don't get that as a grad student. But then I ended up graduating in that fall semester. So.
And how soon after did you get into a PhD program?
Oh, almost immediately.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think I interviewed with Rodrigo, I want to say September of 2020, and then turned around and actually came to visit the lab and see Baton Rouge in Louisiana, because I had never been here, gone out to Louisiana before. I want to say that was in December, but I was basically like, this is a cool program. You know, Rodrigo seemed extremely excited about the project and very supportive of everything, and I was like, cool, this sounds like a good experience. I'm going to go ahead and jump in this lab. So basically I interviewed in September and moved out here in like January of 21.
And what are you currently working on?
So my current project is involving the invasive Roseau cane scale, which is causing dieback of a reed that grows out in the Mississippi River Delta. Phragmites australis, common reed, Roseau canes are some of the different common names for it. But we have this invasive scale from China that is attacking these reeds, and we're seeing these mass die-offs of this like major plant that's basically like holding the marsh together. And so when these plants die off, there's like land loss and erosion that happens, and you're losing these important wetlands. So then that's the problem, and then I am actually looking at doing biocontrol for this invasive scale. So we're looking at these parasitoid wasps that are attacking it.
How many parasitoids are you working on?
So that's the interesting thing is when we started the project, there were 3 that were known were known from the scale's original native range. So it probably came over when the scale first was introduced into Louisiana. And then in fall of 22, I actually found that a 4th species was popping up all over, pretty much all over the state. Anywhere that we would go out and collect Roseau cane scale, we were also rearing out this 4th parasitoid wasp. And from everything that we've been able to see, it doesn't have a species name yet. We just have the genus identity is a Parasitoids. So it's a Parasitoids sp, and but from everything we've been able to see, it seems to match with another Parasitoids that also has not been identified as species. That is present over in the native range. So,
how does that make you feel that you find this out?
It was exciting. Like I was going pretty crazy when I first found it, because I want to say that was in September, and I was just rearing out these parasitoid wasps and was looking through them, and I saw one that was like, I don't recognize this guy, and so I set it aside, and then I kept finding more of them. And then I actually ended up, so they are sexually, the male and female are look completely different. So I thought actually I was getting 2 brand new wasp species, and it turns out just to be the same one. But that was exciting, you know. That was like, oh crap, like I got all this new stuff, like we got to turn around and like look into this more. And then not even a month later, I found another species of parasitoid wasps. The story on that one's a little less exciting. It turns out it's a hyperparasitoid that's native here. So it parasitizes another parasitoid wasp that's already in the host. This one's from the genus Marietta. It's really not that relevant. It seems that it actually just shows up very rarely, like 1% of scales will get it. But it is there, and I didn't know about it. So after coming from new species to, oh hey, here's another one I don't know, it was like, oh, what's going on? Major changes in the program with that. And so actually finding that a Parasitoids, though, completely changed what kind of research I was doing for my PhD project.
And so just going a little bit back, so for a PhD, yes, we know you need to take coursework, and you also need to do field work. And also, how many semesters were you taking classes? Are you done with your classes?
So I am done with my classes now. I've actually been done with classes since basically fall of last year. But I cannot say how many semesters of classes I ended up taking, because I never had like a full course load. During any of my semesters. I would always only ever have like maybe 2 classes I was taking at any one point, and those would be anywhere from 3 to 7 hours total.
Can you tell us a little bit more about a day on the fieldwork?
Yeah, so one of the big things that we do is we have to go out to the Mississippi River Delta, which if you think of Louisiana as like one big boot, we're going all the way out to the very end of the toe, basically where the Mississippi River dumps out into the Gulf of Mexico. And that's a 3-hour drive from Baton Rouge to the port that we launch our boats out at. And then it's another hour by boat out to our field sites typically. So that's, it's a long day. It's an early day, because we leave around 4 or 5 a.m.
That's very early. And how high can the temperature get?
Last year, during the summer last year, it was getting triple digits just about every day during the summer. And we were out in the middle of that for the entire day. It's not as extreme as it would be if we were more on, like, in an open field or something doing it. We are on a boat, so we do get a breeze when the boat is running. We can go jump in the water to cool off if we need to. But the downside of that is the frag stands are in basically marsh, and this is a tall plant that gets 6 to 10 feet tall, 2 to 3 meters, and it just looms over you. It feels like being in a corn maze.
Wow.
And it can get very hot within that stand.
And how many days at a time do you do the field work?
So ours will be anywhere from 2 to 3 days straight. So that'll be, leaving the first day at like 4 a.m., spend all day until probably like 4 or 5 o'clock, call it quits there. We stay overnight in a camp that the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries is kind enough to let us stay at.
Okay.
So we do get AC, running water, toilets, kitchen, and stuff while we're there. Spend the night, and then we're up and at it at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning the next morning.
And repeat.
Repeats until it's done, or at least until we reach 3 days and we can't do it anymore.
Yeah. I have some specific questions that I want to ask you, so if you don't mind me reading.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you have encountered while studying these parasitoids in the field, especially in the unique wetland ecosystems of Louisiana?
Yeah, the mud is the challenge. Yeah, I mean, some of us in our lab are really good about navigating the mud.
Okay.
I'm not.
You're not?
So, I'm not particularly tall, but like, I get stuck in the mud pretty bad, and it goes like
Your
up
waist?
to my waist.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And it's like fighting quicksand. It's like you just slowly sink in, and you're having to like pull yourself out, and you're just constantly having like just to move anywhere. You're having to constantly fight this mud that's trying to just sink you down. And I've had some times where, especially if I've had to stand in one spot for any particular amount of time, I'll finish, and I'm literally just as stuck as I can. And like, we're wearing waders, which can be pretty hot, but it also kind of keeps you kind of dry and helps a little bit with navigating. But the problem is sometimes if you're trying to pull yourself out, your foot can slip out of the boot, and then the mud closes in on the leg, and so then you've got like your foot and the rest of your leg are like up in the leg of the waders, and the boot's like down there buried under like another like foot of mud, and you're having to like try to pull this boot out through while in this just really awkward situation. And
I can imagine.
And then, it's a hot day, you've been at it for a few hours, and you're trying to untangle yourself so you can keep moving. And then your advisor comes walking past, and he's not having that big of an issue. And he's like, "Come on, Tanner, like, let's go, come on, let's move." He's like, "We got stuff to do. Grab these reeds, grab the stems, and like, let's get going." And I'm like, "Rodrigo, I'm stuck." Like,
how often during these days do you have to apply sunscreen? If you do.
Yeah, I have to. I burn really easily.
Okay.
I'm actually known for always burning whenever we go out and do these trips. For me, I probably have to reapply every hour.
Yeah.
And I just don't do that.
Why not?
Because we are stuck in these stands for so long, and you just get busy, and it's like, before you know it, it's like 3 hours have passed, and you're like, "Oh, I forgot to put sunscreen on, let me do it now." But in that like 3 hour period, you've already started burning.
Yeah, it's not enough. And especially because you're very like light
I'm white as
skin.
hell.
Yes, okay. You say it. Yeah, and it's dangerous for your skin, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm red for a couple days after.
Like a lobster?
Yeah, one time I was that red. And then, it peels away after a while, and
Okay, do you at least have a routine after that happened? When you read at home, it's like, do you apply lotion or do something or just let it be?
I just let it be.
Oh.
I can't say it's ever been so bad that like I just feel absolutely miserable. And honestly, peeling afterwards is kind of fun. But
Yours sounds like a lizard.
no, you do.
Are you a lizard? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, I have another one. Your research is very applied in nature. How do you see the potential biocontrol agents impacting the overall health of the wetland ecosystem if they prove effective against the Roseau cane scale?
Yeah, so the key point of doing this biocontrol is like we don't really have a lot of other tools in this system. So like this is a protected wetland area, it's aquatic, you know, you don't want to be hitting non-targets with insecticides. You can't really get out there with a weed whacker and like weed whack these infested canes down so that new uninfested growth like comes up. You can't really do that on scale. So the big thing is like, well, let's get these wasps that, you know, will just they're evolved to target these insects. They can reproduce, they spread on their own. Basically just a matter of get them out there and get them working for you, and then hopefully that they get these populations built up. And because getting parasitized by them actually kills the host, you know, anytime one's getting parasitized, that's actual mortality on your pest population. And so the whole goal or the whole plan with this is like, well, we get enough parasitism going, and that reduces the scale population, which is not as much damage being done to the canes. And so the canes, you know, either stop dying off completely, or you see like a higher, like this big reduction in like the actual damage that's being done to it. Yeah. So we're using these insects basically as like ecological like protection of a problem that's already ongoing.
It looks like you really enjoy your
project.
I'm
so excited about this stuff. Like it's something I want to be doing this invasive species and doing biocontrol like after I graduate, whatever I end up doing for my job.
So during your master's degree, you also had the chance to do some fieldwork?
Yeah, so the fieldwork for that was more typical, like actual farmer's field. We were a vegetable entomology lab, so we did stuff with like a little bit of cotton, we did peppers, cabbages, sweet potato, yeah. And a lot of this was crops that are targeted by whiteflies.
So how different was this experience from your master's degree, fieldwork, and now your PhD? Is there any learning curve?
So yeah, the big learning curve has been, as far as fieldwork goes, dealing with the mud, getting used to boating. You know, I was doing my master's work in South Georgia in the middle of just dry field where it was hot still, it was hot and humid. But you went out, you did your field work, you like did harvesting or your scouting and getting your data and stuff. And then you were like a 5-minute drive back to your lab. So you worked in the morning while it was cooler, and then you spent the rest of the afternoon like doing your indoor lab stuff. Here it's get up early, spend 3 days straight like outside in the heat, in the mud, learn to do boating stuff. That's been fun and kind of a challenge too, is learning to operate boats and helping out with that.
I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I think that by having these long days, overnight days, you also get the chance to connect with your lab mates and probably get to know them in a very deep and personal level.
Yeah, there's a lot of time to be talking, and then we do a lot of fun stuff when we end the days. So we're out in Mississippi Delta. This is an area that people travel to from other states to go fishing and go hunting in, and we just get to stay out there.
Where do they hunt?
They do duck hunting.
Oh yeah, have you done that?
I have not done duck hunting. I have gone fishing out there though, plenty of times.
Wait, is that, I have seen this in TV, like people go and with the hens and then they catfish. Is
Oh, the
that-
catfish noodling? Yeah, that's a real thing in the South here.
Have you done that?
I have not done that. I have not done that. That may be somebody else in our lab, though, has done that.
Okay.
But yeah, we do go fishing, though. We'll spend probably about 2 or 3 hours at the end of the day and go fishing if we're not fishing during some of the downtime in the field work.
Okay.
And we're catching fish, and then we come back, gut them, and cook them up and everything, and
You
have
clean it and everything?
I have helped with cleaning.
Who is
but,
the pro at cleaning?
That's definitely Josh in our lab, Josh Snook.
Okay, that's really.
He's put us on some really big fish, and he does like a lot of the cleaning and stuff. He's got more experience doing that.
I want to see that. I have never seen.
Yeah, you need to come down with us at least once.
Listen,
We need the help.
talk about yes, yeah, we can talk about it off cameras. So I have the feeling like your specific project, I don't know if this is as a general in your lab, but your project, it seems to be very complete. Like you have TA, you do courses, you do field work, you also do some molecular stuff. Do you want to tell me more about it?
Yeah, so part of this project was actually learning how to do like PCR and gel electrophoresis. And so there was already some work ahead of time before I started, was looking at trying to build PCR primers and identify the original 3 parasitoid species that were there, because one of the issues we have is you can identify the adults pretty easily, but when they're larvae, they just look like little white maggots inside the scale, and you can't really tell who's who, but you can do genetics and identify them that way. So there was work on those original 3, but then when this 4th species shows up, it's like, well, we don't have these primers for it, we need to build this. So I got to experience, actually building primers from scratch, doing like sequencing, and learning PCR and everything. And so that's actually been a major component of my research, has been doing these field data, doing a large field component actually, but then also a lot of the other half of my time is like go be in our genetics closet and work on that for a good half of the day.
And between doing the field work and the molecular stuff, which one is more rewarding to you?
Oh man, I actually enjoy both of them, but for very different reasons. So as far as actually doing the field work, I'm not too keen on it. It is work in the heat, but while you're doing field work, while you're doing the field work, though, you're out in nature. We work in a lot of natural environments, and so you're getting to see a lot of cool wildlife, I travel across the state for a lot of mine, so I get to see a large part of Louisiana. I've been out to the Texas coast and also along the coast of like Mississippi and Alabama. So I get to see a lot of cool stuff, go travel, see different towns, meet different people while I'm doing that. So I enjoy doing all of that. And then when I actually go sit down and do my genetic stuff, it's a pretty cool project in the sense that like I am using these like newer scientific techniques to figure out like parts of the biology of this like really weird complex system that's going on. So,
do you have the chance during this program, your PhD program, to be a mentor?
Yeah, so I have served as a TA for 2 different classes.
Oh.
So I've gotten to be kind of teaching undergrad students in like an actual like teaching formal setting, but then we also have student workers in our lab, and I'm actually mentoring one of them through 2 separate projects. With one is, we are actually not in my Roseau cane scale project, but with another project in our lab looking at the Salvinia weevil. We have 2 different biotypes of that weevil, Brazilian and Argentinian, and we are actually designing PCR primers that can identify the 2 biotypes, since morphologically they look exactly the same.
And how do you will describe your mentor style? Mentorship style?
extremely laid back, I guess. I don't push work too hard. I'm not micromanaging. And I just want to make sure that like whatever whoever I'm mentoring, I just want to make sure that they understand like what's going on, or like what they need to be doing, or like how it they don't need to know exactly like how the chemistry of PCR works, but they do need to, I do want to make sure that they know like, hey, this is what you're trying to do, this is how you find it.
If you have to tell to me or to anyone what has been the biggest challenge in your program as of today?
Yeah, so honestly, I've talked about fieldwork already. Fieldwork has been, and it's probably pretty unique to our particular situation with our project. The fieldwork for me has been the most difficult. I have really struggled with getting stuck in the mud and just keeping up.
Do you have nightmares about it?
Yes, I do. Like it really feels when you are getting stuck. My thought whenever I get stuck is like, this is how the dinosaurs that like get stuck in the tar pits and like I'm gonna die here.
You're
like,
not going to die.
So it could be trolling.
Like yeah, like I'm gonna get sucked all the way under the mud, and some archaeologists that, you know, millions of years from now are gonna like find my fossilized skeleton and yeah, and I'm gonna be in a weird position too.
How will you be your position if you have to choose your position?
Oh my god. Well, okay, so I'd probably be skeleton so they wouldn't see my face, but I'd probably be making some really weird face, like.
And how do you, you know, in a social scale, to say something, how involved are you with the student community?
Yeah, so I'm in a couple of different student orgs. So we have an entomology club for our department. It's mostly grad students, but it is open to undergrads. And so I am involved in that with doing a lot of our outreach and stuff. And I've always been very involved in doing outreach. Back when I did my undergrad and my master's, I'd be involved in our department's different public outreaches, going out to museums and school groups and showing off like different insects and live and pen specimens. And then also I'm the treasurer for our botany club.
But that is at LSU.
Yeah, so that is LSU. It's also in the Ag Center, but it's more through the Renewable Natural Resources Department. Is where a lot of the students are that are in that club are involved, and so that's been fun dealing with not purely entomology-minded people, and we do a lot of hiking and going out, and so I'm learning a lot through them of like the local, you know, wildlife, both plants and like vertebrates basically. But then also I get to kind of share like, oh hey, we're walking, let's find this cool bug, this is what's going on with it and stuff.
Yeah, I remember that we went to this, it was like Nature Day or iNaturalist Day.
Oh, the BioBlitz.
And you were leading the group.
Yeah, so one of the cool things that Baton Rouge does is we have a really great park system put together by BREC, Baton Rouge Recreation Department. And they do an annual BioBlitz every spring. And that's, they pick one of the parks and they get a bunch of these different groups that are all people that specialize in different wildlife. And you go out and you lead with the general public, teaching them about like how to identify different plants and animals, how to like actually do these sampling, and then you upload on iNaturalist, and it's a big community like involvement to record all of the biodiversity that we have in the city.
Yeah, I remember that day. It was a pretty cool activity. I hope I get the chance to do it again. I had a lot of fun. And I also remember that you didn't have like a stand like at the Arboretum?
No, I didn't have a stand.
But we went there, right?
Yeah,
We were planting trees.
Yes, that was Arbor Day in
Yes,
January, February every year?
This year, right?
It's every year that they do it over at Burden. Yeah, that's a fun one. I think I've planted like 6 or 7 trees with them now. More of my involvement with that though has been actually through botany clubs.
So it's always at the same park?
Yeah, it's always at the same park.
Different
It's just they do different areas.
Oh, okay.
And that's a fun one though, because they actually, you pick your tree, you go plant it, and then they actually give you a card that tells you what species you planted and the exact coordinates where it was planted, so you can actually come find it later on and see how it's doing.
It's really nice when you think about it. And you're about to graduate because you're actually a PhD candidate. I actually forgot to mention that, but I want to make it clear.
I forget it too sometimes.
Tanner Sparks, PhD candidate. Did I pronounce it correctly this time? Okay, yes. What is next for you?
That's a good question. I wish I knew. I really get, I gotta get through my final defense. That's October. I gotta get my dissertation finished written, and then do my actual defense. Yeah.
Okay. Let me rephrase this. After you complete all the things that you need to get done before the graduation day, what is your dream position?
Well, I definitely want to keep doing invasive species research, and particularly with a focus on biocontrol. I've really found that doing this PhD project, I've really enjoyed working in this kind of like system where you're going out and you're actually fixing issues with the natural environment. You're not just spraying insecticides and seeing how well it works, and it actually feels like I'm really improving or doing direct action to improve the environment and improving the ecosystem here.
Could you consider like working out of the United States?
Yeah, I've definitely considered it. I've actually really kind of thought about Australia.
Australia sounds like a good place to go.
Yeah, it just seems like it would be fun. It would be so different from living in the United States as far as like ecosystem and everything.
Yeah.
It'd be exploring, figuring everything out from scratch again.
I wonder if it's easier to get like a postdoc position to go to Australia or like industry position. I don't know.
That's a good question. I do know they have a big handful with working with invasive species over there, or really any kind of like island country would also probably be very interested in having an invasive species like entomologist on hand.
Yeah. Well, do you have like profile on Reddit?
I do.
Okay.
I don't have social media. I do have a Reddit account, but
you don't have social media?
I don't have social media at all. Like,
why not?
and that's if you count Reddit as social media. I have like an account for that. And that's it.
I think that Reddit is like I don't know. I don't think Reddit is a social media.
Too much is social media either. Yeah.
Do you have like a specific threads that you read? No, what are these called?
Oh, like the subreddits. Yeah. So I watch the Baton Rouge subreddit for local news and stuff. And then I'm also in, one of my hobbies is Magic the Gathering, so I'm in that one. I'm also really big into aquariums, both freshwater and saltwater, so I'm in both of those.
How do you know when someone is good at magic?
Because you sit down and play with them, and you go, yeah, I'd probably do the exact same thing.
Okay, I try a couple of times, but I'm really bad. But anyways, yeah. So do you wanna read this story and then we can comment on it?
Sure.
Yes.
So this one's from the Our Louisiana subreddit, and this is a potential PhD student moving to Louisiana for their PhD program, and they want to know, what should I know? So, hey all, we will be moving between June and August for a PhD program. We've done some research, read the horror stories. I've seen on Reddit many people try to leave, so tell me, is it really that bad? What should we watch out for? We were thinking the Baton Rouge area. We're moving from Utah to give some perspective. So a lot of the people trying to leave are not people that are trying to do graduate school here. I would say doing graduate school, especially at LSU, has been a really great experience.
Is this person mentioning that it's LSU? No, right?
I believe they said Baton Rouge.
Okay, yeah, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's LSU.
Yeah, they said the Baton Rouge area,
Yeah,
so that
there
would
we go.
specifically be LSU or like Southern.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as far as the LSU community and working at LSU, I would recommend it for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of the horror stories you hear are, or at least for me, is more hurricane related. We are a prime target for hurricanes. We just had Francine last week, who did not cause a significant amount of damage to our city.
It did to me.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, it worked out for me. I didn't lose power,
It's fine.
which I lost power for 3 days during Ida in 21. So that was an exciting thing, was being my first year living here and then being like, all right, how much do I have to worry about hurricanes? And then Ida comes, but that was a Cat 4. I survived it.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool, bring on Francine. I can handle this. It's only going to be a Cat 1, Cat 2. That's nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I have not lived in Utah, so I don't know how big the difference will be. I will say you're going to enjoy the food here. There's a big variety of really good food, especially a lot of the Cajun stuff, but then also a lot of international food is here.
Yes, I agree.
So you're going to enjoy that. There's a lot of stuff to do in the city. Some of the people that live here complain about there not being anything to do, but I lived in rural South Georgia for a couple of years, and there's a lot more to do here than in South Georgia. And then I've mentioned already the Breck Parks are really great.
Really
there is
good.
So we're called the Sportsman Paradise for a reason. You have these gorgeous wetlands that you can go boating on, fishing, hunting if you're into that. But then we also have more upland stuff that's great hiking and exploring the wildlife and stuff out here. So if any of that sounds appealing to you, you'll enjoy it. Now the other part of the question is finding work out there difficult? I would say if you're coming here as a PhD student, you don't really have to worry about work.
You will not have time.
You will not have time to do it. But if you have a partner who is also trying to be looking for a job while you're here, I can say that might be a little difficult, but that's going to depend on what their skills are. If they're more of a computer science, IT type person, you will find jobs here for that. But if you're looking for well, frankly, I can't think of anything that would be a little more difficult to find jobs. I think it's just going to really depend on what their skill set's going to be.
Yeah.
And what kind of job they're looking for. And then the last part is, how is it for people around the LGBT plus community? And it's like, well, you are moving to the South, which has a reputation for not being like always the friendliest, at least in the rural areas. But I will say, I have not had that issue. A lot of the people have been extremely welcoming here. Within the actual city of Baton Rouge itself, we have a big LGBT community. You'll be associated with the university. The university is extremely LGBT friendly. And so you'll always find support through the university community. And these are some of the friendliest, most community-oriented people that I've experienced has actually been moving out here and getting to know everybody through the university.
I completely agree with that. I will say that moving to Baton Rouge, in my personal experience, I think it's moving to any city, you require a specific amount of time to get used to the traffic, the places to go, the heat, the humidity. You need time for that.
That's true. Coming from Utah, depending on which part, it may be a little hotter than you're used to.
But probably not as humid.
Yeah, Utah wouldn't be very humid either. Yeah, so you'd have to be getting used to the humidity and the heat during the summer. And some people can adapt to that really quickly. Some people it takes a little bit of time, but there's definitely strategies for dealing with the heat, taking lots of water breaks, either if you prefer to cover yourself up for sun exposure, or if you do more like me, where it's more skin exposure, more opportunity to sweat and cool off. But any lab that you join that is doing any kind of field component, they're going to have strategies and a plan in place for actually dealing with the summer fieldwork heat.
Yeah.
So you will be with people who know how to deal with it.
Okay, so we are about to end here. Is there anything that you want to share to a general community or prospective students coming to MSU, or specifically to the entomology department?
Yeah, so specifically to the well, I will say if you're a PhD or looking to do grad school in general, I always say find a project or a program or lab that you really like the topic of. It makes doing the more grueling part of grad school a lot more worthwhile, and it kind of keeps you from getting burnt out. If you're really enjoying your project, or you like your system, or just the other important part is, you know, do you get along with your professor? Do you like your professor? And if you like your lab community, then it can make some of the worst days where you're out in triple digits in the heat, in the mud, a lot more tolerable.
Okay, yes. So thank you so much for being with us, PhD candidate Tanner Sparks. It was very nice learning about your research and getting to know you a little bit more. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, Evelyn.
And thank you guys for being with us again in this episode. And please remember, we are building this community where we can support each other as a graduate student, so we can learn and share about our research and how we deal with this time. Okay, see you guys.